Hi, we're in the rig shop here at Crowley's Yacht. We're going to demonstrate how to rebuild a winch. We'll do that with a Lumar 44 self-taper.
You're going to need some basic tools to service your winch. Typically there's simple tools. Every winch is a little bit different. In this case you need a screwdriver, maybe pliers. Some winches require an Allen wrench. You might need a mallet to free up some things that are frozen together. It's also a good idea to have an exploded diagram so you know what parts go where and what you're going to find once you take the cap off. You need some basic supplies as well. Brass brushes are good. Then some brushes to spread grease once you've cleaned everything up. You want some solvent-resistant gloves. Navel jelly is good for cleaning up any corrosion you might find and protecting the corroded parts once they're cleaned up. You'll need some winch grease. And then you'll need some light oil for the pawls. And then you need something to clean everything up with. In this case, we're using parts cleaning solvent. It's time to take things apart. First step is to get the drum off. And to do that, you need to remove the top cap. In this case, the top cap is threaded on. Sometimes it'll be seized up a little bit. You might need to give them a little tap to free them up. Then you should be able to thread it off with your thumbs. Once you get the top cap off, you remove the feeder arm. Once that's done, you should be able to lift the drum assembly right off. And you're exposing the main stem. Now you pull out these two collets in this case. They hold the main shaft in place. Then you should be able to slide the main shaft right out. Next thing you want to do is remove the ratchet gears. There's a ratchet gear and this is the pawl gear. Disassemble those two parts. This winch has two ratchet gears and two pawl gears. They both come out. And any other loose parts that are on there, remove them. Once you've got all the parts off, disassemble all the sub-assemblies and drop them into your bucket of cleaner. This is a time you want to look at all the parts and pieces, see if there's anything missing, pawl spring for example, or anything broken, any broken teeth on any of your gears. And if that's the case, you'll need to replace those broken parts before you reassemble. Now the next step is cleaning. And this typically takes the most amount of time and is the most painstaking part of rebuilding a winch. You should be very careful and thorough in the cleaning. This particular winch is a new winch, so cleaning is fairly easy. But if you've got a winch that's been out there for a while, you'll have dirt packed into the grease, and some of the grease will be hardened up, and you might have some corrosion. So just take your time and get the pieces all back to new. They typically clean up pretty well. After you've finished cleaning, what you'll want to do is take some time and make sure that you get all the cleaning solvent off of the winches so that once you reassemble, the solvent doesn't break down the new winch grease. Okay, now lay out all your parts and pieces. And then you reassemble the winch. And you want to do this in the reverse order of how you took it apart. The first thing you want to do is put the pawls into the pawl gear. Now, when you do that, make sure that you do it in the correct orientation. This diagram illustrates how they'll fit in both ways, but the pawl will only work if they're in the right way. Once they're in, put a little grease, actually a little bit of the light oil on the pawls, and then work that through. Make sure that the pawls pop out. Then you'll want a little winch grease on the bearing surface where the pawls lock in place. Drop that into place. It's time to slide that in to the stem assembly. Get your retaining pin. Align that. Once it's down, there you go. Do the same thing with the other gear. Now you put the pawl spring in, squeeze it in, and then slide it into the gear. Some winches have pawls in the drum assembly as well. They assemble the same way. light oil on the pawls, work it through, make sure that they spring like they're supposed to and they don't get stuck. Fit that onto the ratchet gear. And on all the gears, make sure that you put a little bit of grease, just a thin coating, on all the gear surfaces. Align those, slide the pin in place. Once you've got that done, it's time now to put the main shaft in. Little grease on the main shaft gear and on the bearing surface of the main shaft. Slide it in. You might need to move the gears at the base to get them to drop in on the line correctly. Now it's time to put the collets back in to hold the gear in the correct position. Once that's done, it's time to put your main bearings, the drum bearings, on to the stem assembly. A little grease on the stem assembly. There's a spacer between these bearings on this particular winch. Put those in place. Now it's time to put the main drum back in on the stem assembly. You want to put some grease on the gears that are cast into the drum. Slide it down, jig a little bit, put your feeder arm back on and make sure it's positioned correctly so that your sheet will fall into the cockpit rather than away from the cockpit. Put your top cap assembly on, tighten that up, wipe everything up a bit, and there you go, a correctly disassembled, cleaned, greased and serviced winch.